In the first chapter of the Prayers of Many book, the title is a call for revolution in corporate prayer. It's called Revolution. And the point I was trying to make in that chapter is that any revolution takes time. If we think of the Industrial Revolution or the French Revolution, or even more currently the sort of internet revolution, although things take various lengths of time, they're not done overnight. There requires an intentional set of activity. And what's been said is that if you want to change culture, which is what we're talking about, a cultural change, revolution is about a cultural change. It takes vision, values, vocabulary and vehicles. You've got to have a composition of all of those four things for a long, sustained period of time until it becomes part of how we live, part of how we think, part of how we behave. It's sort of something that just becomes intuitive and natural to us over a longer period of time. All of us don't even think twice about using the internet now as a vehicle for communication. So the communication revolution has now become a way of life. Corporate prayer needs to be a long journey in a certain direction, and all of us need to be part of that. One of the vehicles we have used, just to give a framework for corporate prayer to be explored, is the Enough prayer meeting. But actually the Enough prayer meeting is only a vehicle. It's not the goal. It's a vehicle to get to the goal. The goal is for the prayers of many. So our desire is to see many people, many leaders, many churches, many groups so convinced of the need to make corporate prayer the engine room, the foundation, the starting point for local church life, that we then build everything else around it. Our evangelism flows out of corporate prayer. Our social action flows out of corporate prayer. Anything that we happen to think of flows out of corporate prayer. My friend Pete Gregg, when he spoke to us some time ago, I remember him saying, worship over the last 30, 40 years in local church life has changed beyond all recognition. And that's because a lot of creativity, a lot of effort, a lot of focus, a lot of vision, a lot of values, a lot of money, a lot of creativity, many vehicles, many songs written, many creative arrangements of old songs and all the rest of it. Much creativity, much effort has gone into changing the face of worship in corporate church life. And he made this observation. He said, imagine what would happen, or what would have happened, if we'd have put the same energy into corporate prayer and changing that in local church. Well, that's what this is about. That's what this journey is about. So I trust that the prayers of many will not just introduce you to a vehicle, because our story is that we used a vehicle called Enough, but whether you want to make use of that vehicle, you're very free to do so. But creating vehicles whereby the prayers of many can be expressed is the longing and hope of this book. And it is a long journey in a direction that may take many years. May take many years before we really begin to see the change, just as it did with worship in corporate church life. It's 30, 40 years later that it's almost now beyond recognition. So let's get ready, let's give ourselves to that culture change, because it is a biblical thing we're trying to recover and restore into local church life.